All right, so today for our Atelier talk, we have Danielle Durack. How are you, Danielle?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, yeah, pretty good. I see that you've been doing some live streams lately.
I've been doing a few, yeah, here and there.
Yeah, how is that? How's that
It's
going for you?
been it's been good. It's definitely interesting. It's a
Hmm.
new experience for me. It's not something I've done, before the world kind of got put on pause, but it's been cool. It like reminds me of like being, I don't know, 14 years old again and like showing
Hmm.
my friends my songs from my
Hmm.
bedroom. You know what I mean? That
Totally.
was like, I don't know, like having people into my space and sharing my most intimate feelings. I don't know.
Yeah,
So, I don't know.
definitely.
It's been cool in that way.
Hmm. Do you feel like you can engage with people? Do you do it on your phone or laptop?
I usually do it on my laptop. I've done a couple of different like platforms. Like I've used Twitch and I've
Hmm.
used like the Zoom. I forget what it's called, but where you broadcast instead of like a chat or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and then I've done like Instagram Live, and they all have like a chat function. So yeah, you can kind of interact with people. It's like similar to just a live show. You hear things kind of yelled at you throughout your songs, and if you remember them, you'll mention it between songs. And the only difference is you can't see, people's faces, which is a bummer, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and you've done some touring and played live a lot before this. Um, yeah, is it kind of hard without that habit?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely miss being there's like an energy in a room,
Mm.
and that's yeah, like it's something that I've always wanted to do, and it's something that I had big plans for this year, like lots of
Mm.
lots of touring and stuff. So it's all like I said, kind of on pause at the moment, and it has been hard adjusting to, I don't know, finding purpose in this like time of like basically rest is how I'm like taking it,
Yep.
and like reflection and just like it's a chance to kind of recalibrate and redirect if you're on the wrong path, or just to reassure or reaffirm your goals and all that. But it's hard sometimes, just the day to day of like getting restless, and I definitely have like zero chill, so it's been very challenging for me.
Yeah, for sure. Um, have you been writing during this time?
uh, Not a ton. I've been trying really hard. I've been
For
kind
sure.
of a period of yeah, and kind of in this period of not being able to produce things that I like. And that doesn't mean that they're like not good, It's just like whatever, I don't know. I'm just like very critical of my work at this time, which makes it really
Mm.
hard to do it. I don't know,
Yeah.
like power through that feeling of like it's just like what's the point? It all
Mm.
sucks. But like then I'll look back on like a voice memo like weeks later and be like, why did I quit on that song? Like that
Mm.
was like that had good, good start or good bones or whatever. But yeah, I've been writing little fragmented things, nothing really cohesive. I've written like a few songs. Again, nothing I'm super stoked about, but I'm pretty familiar with my own like creative cycles at this point, and I know it's just a matter of time until there's something that I'm like, okay, cool,
Mm.
not washed out of my.
Totally. Yeah. That confidence seems really important, and that's really cool that you can see that, you'll have a result soon. Um, but that the fragment and that the fragmented things aren't meaningless, right?
Right?
Like, yeah, I've gone through similar cycles with that, and it's really like the other day I was like, do I not just have enough like focus anymore? Can I not just like focus for enough time to finish something? but I think you're
Yeah.
exactly right. It's like I'm in this very hypercritical mode, and but I feel like I grow in a lot of other ways during that time. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I think it's like it's so frustrating, and I think that's like my lack of patience really gets in the way of like the other lessons that are there in that time,
Mm,
and it's like maybe like creatively in a bit of a rest period, but you know there's so many things that I can and should dive into, like I don't know, working on like being able to play the guitar more effectively and like confidently, and there's just like maybe it's this like you know this kind of challenge by the universe is like, okay, so you're uninspired, like how do you get inspired, like why maybe learn some new chords, maybe live some more life,
mm,
maybe read some good books, or I don't know. It's just I feel like these blocks are always like accompanied by like big life things, and I don't know. There's always like an up when there's a down, and there's balance in the
mm-hmm.
universe. I like to believe.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the living life is difficult to understand and feel right now because of this pause. It's like what can I say? I
yeah.
feel like we're all just in this waiting period. And so like we can say the
Mm-hmm.
obvious, right? Like we could sing about we could, like what's happening, but it just seems so like not the truth because it's just temporary. We could write about what's happening, like observe what's around us, like people are wearing masks and like um it's hard to meet anyone new. Like there are all these things I think, and I see some of my friends writing about them. Um,
Right.
but I don't know. I haven't been able to have like a finished thought yet in the way you were talking about it. And I think it's just because we're like in such a
Mm-hmm.
growing time right now. I know that you play acoustic guitar and
Mm-hmm.
sing. Do you play other instruments?
I do. I play piano. I play piano slightly more proficiently than I play guitar.
Mm.
Um, uh, and then I play a very small amount of ukulele, and I can play a mean kazoo,
Mm.
and that's it.
Right on. Do you what do you find the differences when you're writing on piano versus guitar?
Up until recently, guitar has felt more like an exploration,
Mm.
because I don't understand how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's more like let's see how this sounds. Oh, okay, that sounds like garbage. Okay, how about this? And whereas piano, I kind of get in my head sometimes about like the theory. It's like, oh, this needs to lead here,
Mm.
and it's like I understand the like the theory is laid out
Mm-hmm.
in a linear fashion.
Exactly. You can
So
see
it's
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, which like I get in my head about structures and stuff. So like, and I like how on guitar, like even if you do get too in your head about it, you can change the tuning and like, you know, just get back to square one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably like the main difference. Like the piano feels really structured and sometimes too much. So.
Mm. So it sounds like getting in your head. It sounds like sometimes when you're writing, maybe you're thinking too much, and is that
Mm-hmm.
like that's a block for you?
Sometimes, yeah.
Mm.
Sometimes it's really helpful. Like if you like hit, a block and you're just like, okay, where could I go from here? And like actually logic it out.
Mm.
Sometimes it's helpful, but most of the time it's just like, I can't do 1/4 again. Do that every time. Whereas like on guitar, like I'm just like listening and I'm feeling and whatever.
Mm. Mm. What about lyrics? Is that a similar block or helpful sometimes?
Um, lyrics are like very like, I don't know. The process of like coming up with lyrics is like even more elusive than like
Mm.
than everything else, because it's just like it has to like suit the melody, right? So it always kind of starts as this like mumbly thing,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll have like one line and then it'll all kind of blossom from that, you know, starting point. Whether
Mm.
that becomes the thesis or if it's just some like tangential like thing is like, you know, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, the lyrics, it's like it's very like it's hard for me to get in my head about it. Sometimes I will. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, that sounds so like preachy and stupid and like annoying. like I don't know. That's like probably the biggest thing that I'll get in my head about. It's like stop telling people like how to live.
Oh wow.
Like,
Mm. Mm. Because in reality, you're probably like preaching to yourself,
to
right? When
myself,
you're writing,
yeah.
yeah. But it might come off as.
Yes, I was
Mm.
like, yeah, I have all the answers, but I don't. I have none of them. I have
Have you?
faith.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Have you ever just like written a poem and tried to put that poem to music?
mm, no, I haven't. I mean, I've tried, I guess, but it never really feels quite right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Because, like I said, like it's almost like they need to, like the melody and the lyrics need, it, at least in my experience, to kind of come at the same time.
Mm.
Because, like, the cadence of words and stuff, like how you would like say a sentence, like I feel like it kind of needs to be reflected. Not needs to, but like it's most impactful if like the way you would say something is reflected in the melody or like the, you know, the delivery
Yeah,
when you're like doing a musical performance or whatever.
totally. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do write poetry. It's just like it never makes it
Mm.
farther than
Right on.
that.
Well, that's a good thing we have all these different mediums to
Right.
figure out who we
Yeah.
are.
That's another thing with the blocks is like I think sometimes these like creative dry spells mostly just come from me putting too much pressure on myself to produce,
Mm.
and like jumping into other creative things is really helpful. It's
Yeah.
just like there's no pressure and it's just like expression
Mm.
and I don't know. Reminds me why I like started all of it, you know, in the first place.
For
Yeah.
sure. Maybe you could talk a little bit, like specifically about the song Sunshine on your most recent album,
Yeah.
Bashful. Yeah.
Yeah, so that one, I probably wrote that song in like 30, 40 minutes or something. I
Mm.
had just come home from an internship in LA and I was staying at my dad's house until like, you know, I was going to join the lease. A friend, you know, move in with a friend, but I was in this little in between period in my life staying at my dad's house and I was just sitting at like the dining room table. That was kind of like my desk when I lived there, and I would do all sorts of stuff, answer emails and write songs, and it was just he would always complain about the dining room table just being like loaded up with my stuff, and it was. But I was just
Mm.
there one night jamming and like having a good little time, and yeah, it just kind of came out like the melody for the verses and the chorus. Um, and it's kind of like it sounds like a love song, which I guess it is, but it's like it's more of like a self-love like song.
Yeah.
It's like it's about I don't know, me getting on my last nerve again and just wanting to I don't know, like I think I get really frustrated with myself and like my very human behavior sometimes, and it's like, you know, that doesn't being frustrated and getting down on yourself doesn't actually help any of it, and it's kind of like, you know, it's in your best interest to like, you know, strive for better, but like and like you're always trying, and like I don't know, that like that will to like live and to do better is kind of like what Sunshine is about.
Mm.
And it's kind of specifically about whatever it is that, you know, when you don't really want to try anymore, like what's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning? And maybe it's like, maybe it is a significant other, maybe it's, you know, your dog, maybe it's God, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is what that one is about. And I wrote it, yeah, very quickly, and I didn't really think much of it. And then the bridge, I had this like little line in my head, and it was, you know, the sunshine in 75. I like had that. It was not, that was written probably months before the song Sunshine was written, just like a little fragmented idea. And it was like a lot faster. It was like sunshine at 75, brown eyes and you have, like it had a bit of a different cadence to it.
Yeah.
And I brought it to my boyfriend at the time, who was in another band, and I was like, I feel like this belongs in this song, but I just like can't make it work. And he was like, just like slow it down, and he like kind of sang it for me, and that's how like it all meshed. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it was a bit of like there was some collaboration there then.
Totally. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. It's doing really well, like streaming and everything.
Yeah, it's every good thing that happens with like the music stuff just like feels like the biggest fluke in the world. I'm like, how did this even how? You know? Because I mean, I don't know, I guess it's that again, I don't know if somebody said this to me at some point or if it was just some meme that I saw, but it's like luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and it's like obviously none of these things would have happened if I wasn't like trying, but it is just kind of like, wow, like there are so many other like, I don't know, bands and artists that like just as easily could have, you know, gotten on this playlist, and it's just like so wild that like it happened to me, and it's crazy. But yeah, I got put on New Music Friday, which was just like the craziest trip. Just like seeing that the day after I put it out, and like, you know, I wasn't a huge like listener of playlists at the time, so I didn't even realize like how big of a deal like it was. And I like you know, looked at the playlist, and it was like it had 3 million listeners, like monthly listeners. Wow. I was like, yeah, this is big. But yeah, I've been very fortunate. It's been really cool.
That's rad. Yeah, and so maybe you could talk about a little bit about the studio experience with that album or that song.
Totally, yeah. That song, okay, so Bashful, the album it was off of, was recorded, 4 songs of the 7 were recorded in Tucson, Arizona at Wave Lab. And that was with Sam Rawson. He's a producer from Seattle, Washington. And he flew down. I've known him since I was like 18, just like a friend of a friend. I knew he was going to school for audio engineering, and it had always been a conversation like we should do something at some point. Yeah. And like all the pieces kind of came together, and he was down, so we flew him down, and I had like 4 songs that I had fully like kind of envisioned in my, you know, I had already like made a lot of the creative decisions about them, and then those were in the process of being mixed, and I went to LA for my internship, and I wrote a couple songs because I had a ton of time to myself out there. I didn't know anybody, and so I had like 3 more songs that I wanted to put on the album, and I told him, I was like, we gotta figure something out. Like I gotta record a couple more songs. So I flew up to Seattle, and Sunshine was one of those songs that got fleshed out in the second round, and I didn't have any real production ideas. It felt really, I don't know, like sonically full as it was. Like it was like it could have just been like an acoustic guitar part and a vocal melody, but he made like such a cool world out of it, and it was just him and I in the studio. We brought in a piano player, Jack. His last name is like Burgrass, or I don't know how to say it, but okay. Like an incredible pianist up in Seattle. And he did some like really amazing work on like Something Good, and just like a few things here and there. It was like incredible. But other than his, you know, his piano, everything was just him, Sam Rawson, and I like figuring it out, and it was just a very cool, like I said, like exploratory, like, him and I were both, it was his first record, and it was like,
Oh wow.
my second, and I'm still figuring all of this out on a day-to-day basis, just like, and I feel like I so much prefer it that way, because once you have a system, it's like, it becomes more of a, like a, I don't know, like a craft instead of like a, I don't know, creative, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I think I get it. It's like, yeah, it's almost like then you're going in to find something that you've already found before.
Right. It's like formulaic.
Yeah, and so then there's this feeling like there's this pressure, one, that because right, there's already a standard above
Right.
what you
There's a
have.
precedent. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and this whole, and you're just like trying to get that result, like what it's
Yeah.
been before. But like it sounds like what his and your experience was is like this is the first, like it's his first.
We're gonna
I'm
figure it out.
still figuring it out. So like it's let's just do it. Like let's just
Yeah.
do it and let's go as far as we can,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be great. It's
Just do
gonna
our
be fun.
best. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and it was such a cool experience. I still remember like the first night in the studio down in Tucson. We did start on the first day, the opening track of Bashful. And I just remember, like, after like a long day of setting up and recording, and like just sitting on the couch behind the computer, like in front of the monitors, and it all just sounds so amazing in studio monitors.
Yeah.
And like, the lights were dimmed, and it's just this magical little room. Oh, it was just so, like, I'll never forget that moment. Just like how I felt in that moment. It literally, like, not to be too like cheeseball-y about it, but it was just like the beginning of everything is like how I felt.
Wow. That feels like a poem or a song in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, how do you capture those beautiful experiences that you've had?
Right.
Or when did they come up? That's something else I think about a lot because, right, usually the process for songwriting for me is, right, it just things come up and I usually am not in control of those things.
Yep.
And then I'm usually surprised and shocked by like, oh wow, like that's coming up. I get it. I get why it's coming up, but like
Totally.
why? And then like, all right, let's like see it through. But
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, I wish just like those most beautiful things that like my memories
Yeah.
would just come up like that.
Right.
And I think they
Yeah.
will,
Totally.
obviously they have to, right?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. I feel like if I sit down to write a song with this like intent of like, I'm gonna write a song about this, it's like it's always garbage. Like, it's just like,
It's so bad.
it is like if I force any of it, it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, like you
And
did
you
your
get
best,
exhausted.
but yeah, and it's frustrating. It's like hitting your head against the wall. It's just like, let it happen. I don't know. Like, I feel like so much of art doesn't, like, Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love, did this TED Talk about, like, muses and how, like, artists, in the last 100, I don't know, eras, whatever, in the last lump of time,
Yeah.
like, it's become this much more, like, egotistical thing, and not in a bad way, but just, like, it all of the pressure, all of it falls on us. Whereas like back in the day, it was just like you just had to show up. The muse came or it didn't. You're still doing your job,
Yes.
And I think that that's huge. Like it's really, it doesn't feel like my best work. Like never feels like it was me. Like sometimes it's like this weird like out of body like experience where it's like I can't believe I wrote that. Like this is, I don't know. And I feel like I've heard a lot of artists say like similar things, that it doesn't always feel like it's of them. It's just coming like through them.
Totally. Completely see that. Yeah, she's cool. I think I've seen a couple of her TED Talks.
Yeah.
I love how, because she talked about like how she was in the worst and best place after that book, because she was like, I'm successful in like what, I've always wanted and what a lot of people said was like impossible to do. But
Right.
then she was also like in the worst place because she knew the next book that she wrote
Had to be better. Yeah.
yeah
Or
and she knew
even
that it
though-
like couldn't, right, like in reality, like there's just like chances are very rare that it was
Wow.
gonna flop basically. And
Right,
then
that
and then
sophomore
she's like,
flop. You can't
and it
avoid
did,
it.
right?
Yeah. Uh,
And she was almost like glad that it did because it made the most sense. And she was like, it's fine. Like I'm a writer, and some things will work, and some things like won't be
yeah.
as accessible to people and commercial, and that's totally cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not always, yeah, that's a really great way of looking at it. It's hard to keep in that headspace when you're investing time and money and
Yeah.
resources into all of your work. You
Yeah.
want it all to resonate with everyone.
Yes.
But you gotta do what's real, like what's authentic, what's actually like what you want to say, and
Mm,
sometimes that isn't what everybody wants to hear, and that's fine.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you working on the next album, or yeah, where are you at?
Yeah, the next album is in the process of being mixed. Tentatively should be done by the end of the month, so the end of the week, which is crazy.
That's awesome. How many songs? Can you release some
It's
information?
Yeah, sure. You're the first. You're the first to hear it all, but I believe it's 10 songs. Dropbox. We'll go. Check it
Wow.
out. Make sure. Um, it started as like, I want to say like 13 songs, and just got like whittled down based on enthusiasm.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Oh shit, I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's 10. Maybe 11,
Mm.
but at the moment there's 10.
Wow. That is exciting.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm also terrified, as
Of
per
course.
usual. It's
Of
just
course.
like I definitely have some of that, like, second release anxiety. It's not my second release, but Bashful got some traction, and it's like, okay, this could either continue that momentum or, not. So, either way, I'm still gonna pick up the guitar tomorrow and write, another song or whatever. It's not, that's not why I do it, but it is scary nonetheless.
Completely. And some of that traction is inspiring. That's something that's difficult for me, is that like when something's really inspiring and I know that it makes me write more music, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for me to let go of it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
happened with people too, right? Like I know there are certain people in my life that when I see them or talk with them, I write music. But
Oh,
like, right?
that's
But
so
then
cool.
yeah. Well,
But
yeah. But right, if those people aren't
yeah,
necessarily the best people like
two
to
sides of the
be,
coin. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because it almost makes me like attached to that
Mm-hmm.
person in
Becomes
an
like a
unhealthy way.
codependent
Mm-hmm.
or just dependent. I get it. Yeah. There's definitely been people in my life where, honestly, there was like through college, right? Yeah. Well, honestly, it was like I had been, we're gonna get into it. Here we go.
Yeah,
Okay, so
let's
like
go.
in high school, I was like really hung up on this dude, and I would write all of these songs that I loved, and then like, stopped kind of like being infatuated with him, and just like could not write anything because I wasn't angry, I wasn't longing anymore. I was just a person, and I was
Mm,
like, oh man, like, do I need to be miserable to write music?
wow.
And I think the answer is no. I don't think you need to be miserable to make good art.
Mm,
Sometimes it is like this, I don't know, it's like the difference between this, like, I don't know, long sustained healthy thing that, like, is more of like a, you show up every day,
yeah.
and it's like this, like, it's a commitment, whereas like, writing when you're sad or angry or like scorned or whatever is more of this like erratic, miserable experience, and it's
Mm,
like, it is really, I think about it almost like a toxic relationship. It's like things are super great when you write that song and you have that feeling and you're like, oh, I did it and it's
Yeah.
tight.
Yes. Yes.
And I feel accomplished and purposeful, and like that suffering that I just experienced almost was worth it. But
Mm.
then you get thrown into this whole like, okay, well now I have nothing to say again, and like, you know, I don't know. It's just this cycle of like, this worked this one time, so I'm gonna keep making bad choices, and like, you know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean the first song that I wrote, actually, I was just into a bunch of like substance stuff and like smoking cigarettes and stuff, which like whatever, you know. There's no like judgment there, but
Right?
for me at the time, like I knew it was something I didn't want for my life.
Yeah.
And the first song that I ever wrote was called Relief, and it was about like distancing myself from those things. And I didn't
Yeah.
even know that it was about that, right?
Right.
But then looking back, it's like, oh, yeah,
Retrospectively, yeah, you're just like,
that's what
oh,
it was.
yeah.
And so I think music, was something that was always kind of protecting me.
That's so cool.
And so if it ever stops doing that, then I know, like,
Yeah.
this isn't the purpose. This isn't why I started songwriting. And wasn't why it made me so happy.
Right.
So, yeah, trying.
That's really cool. I had like a very, yeah, different experience that probably has steered me the way that I am. It was like a, I don't know. It was my diary. It was just like a way to vent about all of, the injustices of my angsty little preteen life at the
Mm,
time. That was like, the safe place I could go to I don't know, express myself. And granted, like, I don't know, like it, I don't know. I don't think it's a negative thing. I think it was like a very positive outlet,
mm,
comparatively to other things I could have been doing. But um, sometimes it does, and maybe this is me getting too much in my head, and maybe this is a reason that I have like these creative blocks or whatever. But sometimes the art feels a little self-indulgent, and it's like, am I actually like, is life that bad? And like, maybe I just
mm.
need to calm down and like look outside of myself for a minute. And yeah, I don't know. I think it can verge on that, but I also think even that in and of itself is valuable. Maybe, I don't
It does. It sounds different for sure, but it seems like still you were being like made aware or conscious of things that you were feeling.
know.
Yeah, I just think without like having the awareness or consciousness of how you're feeling, that makes it really hard to like act in a way that can help you, um, right? Like just change, right?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like sunshine, like get up, like better yourself,
Yeah. Right.
you
Yeah.
know? And that sounds like a very driving thing, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's such a slow process for
Absolutely.
humans to actually change anything,
Yes.
right?
And it's so easy to backslide.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, you can change, but is it lasting change?
Mm,
And like, can you fundamentally like change your motivations for doing things, and like fundamentally change, your desires, and you know what I mean? It's like there's
yeah.
so much.
And we can so easily fool ourselves
Yeah.
that like we did change. Like
Mhm.
New Year's resolutions, like that's
Right.
probably the easiest example of that. It's like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like this
Yeah.
year,
This
new
year,
me.
different.
And then like 3 weeks later, if that, it's just
Yeah.
like, oh God.
Yeah. You're like, well, at least I worked out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely like, I've been reflecting on that a ton recently, because um, spoiler alert, like the next album is a breakup album, and like after
Mm,
that breakup, I think
mm,
death, breakups, just like negative things in your life, like have a really like, the like collateral beauty is like, you really reflect on who you are and what you want, and like, well, the things that actually fulfill you, that are like, that bring you lasting peace as a, like, and not just like a dopamine hit, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
um and like, yeah, after the breakup, I was so on top of everything. I was like, nourishing myself with like good food. I was cooking, I
Mm.
was exercising all the time, I was writing, I was journaling like every day,
Mm.
and I wasn't drinking because that was just like every time I would like have even just a drink would just put me in such a like self pitying state. Like it
Yep.
just, and like, and I don't know if that's me suppressing it and like the, alcohol out of way of like bringing it all to the forefront, but it was not. It was not something I was ready to like
Mm.
address either way.
Mm.
And like slowly I've just kind of like, again, like backslid into those same behaviors, and like, and it's just really interesting because, you know, had I don't know, like it's, I had all these epiphanies when I was in all that pain, and it was
Yep.
just like it was super frustrating because it was like I can have all the epiphanies I want, but I'm still hurting all the time, and
Wow.
like as much like knowledge and like understanding as I've gathered, it doesn't, take away the fact that like this is over, and like I literally like have to grieve that there's no way around it. Um, but like I'm very recently I've been very frustrated with myself. It's like you learned all these lessons and like you've just kind of like ignored them and like, gone on and done whatever it is you're gonna do. I'm trying to get back on that track, but it is much harder to like stay motivated when I'm not in pain. It's almost like when your doctor gives you like medication and you're supposed
Mm.
to take it for like an extended period of time,
Yep.
but you start feeling better after this amount of time, so you stop
Mm.
taking it because you forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're not in pain. It's like,
Yes.
so whatever. Yeah, that's my analogy.
Completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I feel like there's like a different pain with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like we're
Right.
having to let go of a lot, right, or at
Totally.
least take a break, and we don't know what
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know what lies ahead with like how we come back to those things. And we just don't know, like we don't know what we're broken off from.
Yeah.
It's almost like a breakup without communicating, right? It's
Yeah.
like, are we gonna be friends again? Like, are we
Right. Like,
gonna date
what
again
is.
in the future?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, without that, um, there's a lot of
That's true.
unknown.
Mm-hmm. And it's good that happened because I feel like we've been living in this like delusional state where it's like we have control over any of it. It's like we
Mm.
take it all for granted, all the time.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just
Because
like, nope.
it
Yep.
was like that was the one takeaway of all of this that will probably stick with me forever. It's just like how fragile all of this actually
Mm.
is. It's like our world, pandemic, climate change, a meteor could hit us at any
Yeah.
time. We don't, the sun could explode. We don't have any control. And it's like
Yes.
we have, again, not to be like a huge cheese ball, but like we have like today, and that's like
Yeah.
that's it. And what we have today, even in this like quarantine weird world, it's like it's still like really beautiful to be able to like, I don't know, be alive. It's like
Yes.
an incredible experience. You know, the ability to see and hear and all that jazz. It's good stuff.
Totally. And that just, like, that thought makes me ask the question, what do I want
Yeah.
every day? Yeah,
Yeah.
just so much like, what do you want to do? Because literally, there's no, right? There's no, like, it's hard because I know a lot of people have been telling me different my whole life, but like, saving for the future and
Right.
like imagining this whole thing happening in like
Yeah.
40 years and preparing for that. And I get that. And I think that it's very important to do that. But at the same time, like we're not in control and we have no idea what it looks like. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm 70 years old, like retirement, like I
Yeah.
can't even imagine that. Like, right?
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
can be so different. So for me to invest in a time that I can't be present to is
Mm-hmm.
really difficult. There's a
Totally.
lot of tension there. And that's
Yeah.
always been hard for me. But I think the positive of it is I can wake up and be like, what do I want today? And that's like, I
Yeah.
want to feel great. Like, I want my body to feel great.
Yeah.
Right. And like, for me, I just want to play music every day. Like, that's something that hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
And so then I just feel motivated to do that every day now, especially now, because now it's like everyone's now feeling that reality of we're not in control
Yeah.
so much that it's like I think there's an opportunity for us all to wake up to like, what do you want? What do we want?
Right. Like,
Yeah.
what is the, yeah, we don't have, like, yeah, we don't have any control, but in that sense, we've got all the control in the world, right? Like, it's like
Mm.
we don't have to go back to this like normal, and like it's, you're right, it's almost like we're back to being 4 years old, and it's like, okay, what do you want to do today? You want to fucking, sorry, you want
You're
okay.
good. You're good.
You want to roller skate, you want to paint some pictures, like,
Yeah, yeah. You've done it.
yeah,
You've done it.
trying to do all the things. It really has felt like a summer vacation a little bit. I mean, that sounds like very privileged, and I know it is.
Mm.
But like you know, a lot of these like childlike waves are kind of coming back, where it's like I'm in control of my own life, and yeah, like it is strange because you know, doing music and performing in front of people on actual stages is very much something that I want to do.
Yes.
And it feels really scary to not be able to do that, and to not know when that's going to be coming back, or if, you know, and like how many of these venues are going to survive.
Right.
It's all really scary.
You're killing me right now.
I know, I'm
Don't
so
say
sorry.
that. Don't say that.
They're gonna be okay. We're like, I don't know. We can't let it happen. As the artists, I mean, I feel like as like collectively speaking, musicians and like music industry people, like we're a scrappy bunch. Like we're gonna get through this.
Yep.
And like when it matters, like I feel like we do band together, and we, I don't know. It's always like, obviously there's a, you know, the top 1% of, you know, the music industry who is in it for money, which always like confuses me. I'm like, why are you in the music industry for money? There are so many other industries. Like you're in like wrong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you know, other than that 1%, it's like I think everybody's here because we understand the power of music, and I don't think it's ever going to go away. And I think people need it now more than ever. So, yeah, after scaring you about what's going to actually be open, I think we'll be okay. I think there will be some casualties, but generally it's gonna fight on.
Yeah. I agree. So let's talk about roller skating though. How? Yeah, this is good stuff. How did you get into this?
I started when I was pretty little, and there was this video game called Jet Set Radio Future, which is about some skaters, and they do a lot of graffiti, and me and my brother would play that, and then him and the neighbor kid and me, like we'd pretend that we were them, and we'd roller skate. So I got like pretty good on these skates. And then we'd have like these skate nights at my school. Almost, I think it was like one Friday every month we'd go to Skateland, and you could either wear your blades, but if you forget your blades, they had like roller skates for rent. So that was like my first introduction to like roller skates.
Yeah.
Which I was very bad at the time. Like the 4 really like messed with me. The inlines I much preferred. But then recently, probably like...
That's funny because I know nothing about that terminology.
Well, no,
about
okay, like
wheels?
Yeah. You know, like the blades, they have like the like 4 inline.
Okay.
And then like the skates, they have like...
Oh, I see.
Quad.
There's...
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Got it.
There it is. Okay, cool.
Do you know what that's called? I know the inline is like a quad thing.
I think I've been calling them quads. I don't know if that's correct, but...
Well, both
feel
of us
like-
guessed that, so...
Yeah, that's
It's
okay.
confirmed.
That's cool, yeah. Yeah, and then probably 6 months ago, my friend Stephanie, who did photos for like the last tour, she came out on tour with us and like basically like tour managed and took pictures and stuff. She just got a pair of skates probably 6 months ago, and she looked like she was having so much fun on all of her like Instagram stories and stuff. I was like, I gotta get a pair of skates. And I asked for skates from my dad for Christmas, and he kind of scoffed at me, and I was like, that's what I want. That's what I need, and that's what I want. And he got them for me, and that was really nice. It was like super great. I like rolled. It was like I was 12 years old. I was in like the front yard and like inside doing all skating stuff. And yeah, I've been having a ton of fun with them recently. It's just like I'm really glad I got them when I did, because when everything shut down, it was like I can do this still
Mm. Mm.
safely. But I just, as I was telling you earlier, I really messed my back up the other day trying to take those skates to the skate park, which I was not ready for. But, yeah, I definitely ate it, and I won't be skating for at least 2 weeks or so.
Taking a break from the blades
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
skates.
Gotta take it easy. Yeah, I feel like I was hit by a bus, so
Mm.
gotta recover, and then I'll get back on the horse. It'll just take me some time. Gotta heal first.
Definitely. So fun. So if what kind of keeps you coming back to songwriting?
Um, I think I think it's just like emotional unintelligence that keeps me returning to songwriting. I think that is how I process my emotions. I think it's I feel like sometimes after I write a song, it's like that is exactly what I wanted to say, and I would not have been able to say that, you know.
Yep.
Um, and I think that's it. Just like it's like this therapeutic, very like cathartic release, and I feel like it's my means of communication with the world and like with the people in my life. Also, like I mean, there have been times where I've written songs about people and I would play it for them, and it's just like wow, like either I've had experiences where it didn't go well because it's not a very flattering song or whatever. Um, but either way, it's like it's a way that I can confidently express myself. Whereas like if I'm having a conversation with someone, like I don't always feel like I'm being heard. I don't always feel like I'm saying what I actually mean. Um, yeah, I guess, like I said, like just feeling emotionally unintelligent,
Mm.
and that being like a resource for that.
It sounds like you're smarter for it. It sounds like there's something going on chemically in your brain, and I don't think there's much research on it. I mean, we know that, right, when we play music, like both of the sides of the brain are stimulated, like,
Interacting, yeah.
yeah, are interacting. Um, but I think there's something even further. Have you heard of a guy named Wim Hof?
I'm not.
They call him the Iceman.
Okay.
So he's broken like 20 Guinness World Records, and most of them have
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, I've totally heard of this guy. He's
great.
like, he like can control his nervous system.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, and because of all these things, right, that put him on the map, and then he was able to have the resources to get all these brain scans to see, like, okay, what's going on with this guy? Because
Right.
literally they injected him with an endotoxin, and
And he could fight it.
he fought it. And then he taught like 20 other people how to
How to
do
fight
that,
it.
and
Yeah.
they fought it. And so it's like, okay, that's incredible. And so his
Right.
whole thing,
Why aren't we funding this?
yeah, I mean, he's making it happen. He's very charismatic, so and enthusiastic. So he's spreading it. So that's good. Um, but he talks about like like the breathing exercises and the
Mm-hmm.
cold basically initiates his fight or flight like in his brain,
Yeah.
and that's what his immune system gets like
Right.
bolstered because of that. And so I think there's something. It's not the same, but there's something going on when like when musicians are songwriting
Mm-hmm.
that are the fight or flight. I think that same part of the brain is being activated,
Yeah.
and only in that mode are we able to like reach deep into like the deepest pain in our life, and
Yeah.
like and the deepest things that we have to process,
Yeah.
or there'll be consequences, right?
Yeah.
And music is like that bridge that helps us get there.
Totally.
Yeah.
there's something to that. I was just reading. I think I think it was in this book I was reading. I don't know what any of my sources are. I just have like this flowing information. I'm like, was it a meme? Was it that book I was reading? Did my uncle tell me that? I don't know.
But I'm gonna use it.
Yeah, but it sounds right. So, but I think it was in this book called Attached, and it's kind of this like attachment theory, like babies and moms, and how that bleeds into your romantic life as an adult.
Mm.
But there was some excerpt of it that was like, you can, people are more likely to let their guard down if they're like busy. It's like you're able to talk about, like if you're like doing a puzzle with someone or like by yourself, I guess, and they're talking to you and you're just like your mind is kind of like working on like a mindless task. It's like more real things will come out of your mouth.
Whoa.
You know, it's like it's less of, and I think it's just like an ego thing. Like it's like your defenses are up when you're fully aware, when you're fully like. And I think maybe in music it's like, you know, you're playing guitar and you're trying to figure out again like this puzzle almost, and it's like just your subconscious is able to just kind of say things without feeling threatened or like they're going to be ridiculed or whatever, you know. But
that sounds right.
Yeah,
that sounds really right. That's so cool.
That's my theory.
Another weird thing I've observed is like I'll always write more music when there's another deadline for something completely different. Like finals week in college, so many songs. Like I always knew too. After the first round I was like, well, great. And I would just always write. I would always end up writing music and not studying.
Dude, I had the same thing, and it was like, it was the best, but also, why did I do this to myself, you know? My guitar would just like eye me from the other side of the room, like, you could finish that paper, or, and then I'd write something really great that I liked. And I think that's kind of a big part of why I get blocks now too, is like, it's kind of the number one thing, right? So there's all this pressure, and it just doesn't feel like I'm procrastinating anymore. It's just like, this is the thing that
It's the final.
It's the final.
Oh man. Yeah. And screw the final, like
fuck the final, yeah.
Like it's already happening. It's just gonna happen no matter what. Yeah. And maybe there's something else that's more important that we had no idea we were capable of doing. Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like the thing we should always be reinforcing ourselves, is that we're capable of doing anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a weird one. But I've always observed that. That's why I try and pick up other instruments. That's really helped me. Yeah. I don't know why. It's just always helped me in that regard.
Totally. I think I have the same, or I have had the same experience with feeling inspired by, because again, it just feels like more of an exploration than like a composition, you know?
Yeah. So now it's just like about how do we get that back to our songwriting? Because now I think we still want to show the appreciation for songwriting, because it was like the first thing that did that for us.
Right.
And so I still want to dedicate my life to it, you know, even if I feel like drawing today.
And please do, man. Like, you guys like blow me away. I feel like there's no way that, I don't see a world where people don't like totally latch on and like absolutely need your music.
You're really, so sweet.
It's so good. You guys, I mean, like I said, you guys caught my ear that day in Side Pony. I was like down the street and I was like, what is that? I'm so glad I met you.
Yeah. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll have to do another one after the album drops. You have an idea of a release date?
No, I don't know. Everything is so weird right now. I don't know if I'm supposed to wait. I don't know if I'm supposed to just drop it. I don't know. I don't know how to promote music in a pandemic situation.
Yep.
But I think I will put out a single this summer, whether it's July or August. I don't know. But soon. There will be something soon.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Thanks again for having me. It's
Yeah,
been good
thank
talking to you.
For sure. Bye.